So, hello everyone, myself Anand, and I'm from NIT Jalandhar. So, right now I'm going to explain you the very important concept of valence bond theory. Before we proceed into the theory, let's explain what's the importance and need of the VBT theory. So, before VBT, what we studied, we done completed octet theory. And what this theory says, it says if there are two atoms, one have electron deficiency and another have electron rich. So the electron rich molecule or atom will give its electron to the atom which have deficiency of the electron. So we can say that if A and B are two atoms and it is electron rich and it is electron deficient, okay, so the rich will give its electron to the deficient molecule and the acceptor atom will acquire uh, negative charge, and the atom which is donating its electron, it will acquire positive charge. And now there will be a bond formation between A and B. Okay, only that much thing is explained by the octet rule. But now we have confusion that if we have one molecule AB and we have next molecule PQ, next molecule V and U, and both of them have a positive and negative charge, and single number of bond. So how can we compare that which of the bond is more stronger, like this or this, which of them is more stronger and more stable toward heat and other things? And what about the bond length X, Y, and Z? Which of them is longer and which of them is shorter? So octet rule is unable to explain all of these things. So we have to introduce new rule to get understanding of these things. What will be the bond length? What will be the strength? What will be the angle if we have a 3 bond or 4 bond? But this rule will be explained in the later concept. Okay, so let's jump into the concept of VBT. According to VBT, there is a formation of a covalent bond, and like if we have two molecule A and B, then between them there will be a formation of covalent bond. Covalent bond. Okay, and this bond is formed by the overlapping of orbitals. Orbitals, like we have a 1s orbital of circular shape, p orbital of dumbbell shape, d orbital of double dumbbell shape. Okay, so these orbital will interact with each other in different manner and form different type of bond named sigma, pi, delta bond. Okay, and the way they interact with each other will lead the strength. Like if they interact with each other in a, they have to make a bond, they have to interact with each other in a particular fashion, and that fashion is called orientation. Like if we have if we have S and P bond, P orbital, then they have only one approach of proper orientation and overlapping. Like it is a S orbital and this is a P orbital. They have only one way to interact, is that this circular portion will cover this semicircular portion. Okay, so if we add them, then they will form bond like this. This is circular portion and this is loop portion. So this is the part of intersection and this is their nucleus. So this is the distance between the nucleus and this is the bond length. Okay, and this is the common area of bond sharing, because of which they both nucleus are being holded together. Okay, so let's take a real example. And one more thing is that we all know that every orbital of S have an electron of some spin. Okay, so these two electron will interact only if they have opposite spin, because if they have same spin, then they will create repulsion. Okay, so they must have opposite in spin for the interaction like this. Okay, then they will only interact. And the next point is ki, if orbital is like this one, this this then this orbital is not going to uh, form bond or not going to make bond, because this is filled orbital. It अरे यार, this is filled orbital, this is filled suborbital, this is filled suborbital. The orbital, okay, and these two are uh, half filled, ha, half filled orbital. Okay, so only half filled orbital is will going to form bond, and fulfilled orbital is not going to form bond till they are not get excited by the another energy, and they will have a single electron in their suborbital. Okay, the moment they get a single electron in their orbital, they can form bond, but till they have a pair of electron, they are not going to make a bond. Okay, so let's move on the type of overlapping, and I will give the concept, I will give you the theory of the both of the all of the point which I said above. First point was that there will be a proper orientation of combining orbital. Okay, there will be proper orientation of combining orbital. Second point is that the extent of overlapping, the extent of overlapping will decide the strength of bond formed. Okay, like if we have orbital like S and P, then they have two possibilities of overlapping. That first, this is also a kind of overlapping. This is the overlapping area, but this overlapping is ineffective. Okay, and if they overlap like this, then this is effective overlapping. Or we have second thing, that this is P and just that much overlapping. This is also called ineffective overlapping. Okay, is in this case there is no formation of bond, no bond formed, and same for the case that in this case also there is no formation of bond take place. Only this is the case where bond formation is taken place. Okay, so this is called the effective overlapping, and later in the concept I will explain about the axis of orbital and axis internuclear axis of molecule. Okay, so let's start the deep concept of that topic. Type of overlapping, types of overlapping. Okay, so we have three kinds of orbital. First, S, P, D, and F. We have only three type of overlapping is important. S, P, and D. Okay, so first kind of overlapping is between S and S orbital. So this is our S orbital, and this is our S orbital. This is its nucleus, and these things are its electron cloud. in particle form, or we can say it's in wave form. Okay, and next thing is ki if we assume they are in wave form, then they have a sign of wave function. Like if it is a wave, then it must be in a positive direction or a negative direction. So the wave will only interact with each other if they have the same kind of wave function. So if we assume that it is a positive wave function, then for effective overlapping, the next orbital must have same kind of wave function. Then only they will going to make a bond. Okay, so when plus and plus will combine, then they will form a sigma bond. Why sigma? I will tell. Like here, the point of interaction is only one. The point of interaction of atomic orbital is 1. So it will form sigma bond. And next thing is ki if we have a sign function of positive and negative, then it will not going to form bond. No bond form. Okay, and one more thing, these are not sign, these are not charges. Okay, तो फिर क्या आएंगे? These are sign of wave function which shows the state of wave in which it is. And we know that ki for a constructive interference of wave, they must have be in a same phase. Okay, then only they will going to make a bond or going to make a effective constructive wave function, otherwise they will form a destructive wave function. So यहाँ पे जो है in this area destructive interaction हो रहा है, ठीक है, destructive interaction हो रहा है, destructive interaction take place, and for this there is a constructive interaction. There is a constructive interaction of wave function इसको थ्रेशोल्ड मतलब साइज से भी रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं. Okay, so now we have a nucleus of these two orbitals. Then the point or the line which joins the nucleus of both of the orbital is called nuclear axis. And this axis is very important because this axis will tell you in the later type of bonds कि either bond is formed after effective overlapping or formed ineffective overlapping. And if bond is formed without effective overlapping, then that bond will be very unstable and weak very easily. Okay, so this was the first case. Let's move to the second case or second type of interaction, that is interaction of s orbital and p orbital. So we have s orbital, like we have s orbital of single spin with opposite spin. Okay, and the loops of s looks like circular, and loops of p is like it's px, it's py, and it's pz. So basically p have 3 suborbitals which are aligned in 3 different direction. Like if we plot a graph z, so one of the loop is in this direction, one of the loop of p is in this direction, and one of the loop of p is in this direction. So now the p or any other orbital try to approach the p orbital, they must have to come in a particular direction to make a bond. If they want to make bond with the p z suborbital, then they have to come in aligned way with that orbital. If they want to make bond with px orbital, then the next atomic molecule or orbital must have to align themselves with the axis of that p suborbital. Okay, so now let's assume that we have there is a loop of px orbital, so it is in this type of direction. So this is the internuclear axis of s orbital, and this is the internuclear axis of p orbital, p suborbital. Okay, now this is the internuclear axis. This is the orbital axis, not internuclear. It is the orbital axis. It is the orbital axis of p. Okay, and this is circular in shape, so it don't have any axis. Okay, so if this s bond have to make bond, then it have to come in the aligned and follow the direction of that axis. So this is the px direction and px loop of p orbital. So if s orbital approach the px orbital along its px axis, then its wave function going to interact with each other and form and overlap effectively and ultimately form a bond. So it will look like this. This is our ps orbital, and after overlapping, this is our p orbital. Its nucleus, and this is the area of common effective overlapping, and this is the bond length. This is the bond length between the two between the two nuclear. Okay, and the line which join the axis of, this is the line on which the nucleuses of two orbitals are present. Like we have one nucleus and second nucleus, and these two nucleus must join in a particular axis. Okay, fine. So this is the internuclear axis of s and p combining orbitals. Now you think that if two air loops are combining or making bond, then they must be in the same axis, as like here it is the x-axis and here it is also the x-axis, so they always in the same axis. But you will understand that concept in much more deeper when we talk about the d orbital. Okay, so be patient, I will explain the later concept. And the third type of overlapping is pp overlapping between two p orbitals. It may be of different, like it's 2p and 2p orbital, or 2p or 3p orbital, whatever we want to discuss. So let's take example of 2p orbitals, p orbitals. Okay, so we have p orbital, so it may be in that direction, it may interact in that direction, like the loop of this will interact with the loop of this, and the loop of this will interact with loop of this. This is the first type of interaction, and second is that they will interact in this manner. Okay, that the loop of this will interact with the loop of this, and these loops are remain uninteracted. So this type of interaction is called head-on interaction. Head-on interaction, and this is called the lateral interaction. Now as we can see here, that here is a two point of contact or point of overlapping between the orbitals. So here this type of interaction will form a pi bond, and here only one kind of overlapping, only one point of interaction. So this will form a sigma bond, because यहाँ पे क्या है कि here 2 point of contact here one point of contact. Okay, and because here we have only one point of contact, so these orbitals are free to rotate. Like this orbital can rotate, and this orbital can rotate in maybe in the same direction or in the opposite direction, but they will still in the bonded phase. They are free to rotate. Now, the next very important thing is that these two orbitals must be in the same plane and same axis. Like if we talk about this one, this is the nuclear axis of p orbital. So these axes must be of same kind. Like if it is a py, then this orbital must be of same kind. Okay, I will explain why. And about this is the nuclear axis of first loop, and this is the nuclear axis of second loop. Then these loops cannot, they are not necessary that these both loops are of same kind. They can be of different kind. Like here, if one loop is of py direction, then second loop can be of y direction, can be of z direction, or can be of x direction. But here, if first loop is of py direction, then next loop is must be of y direction. Why? The reason is, let's assume a axis. Okay, so here we have a its x axis, its y axis, its z axis. So it's a loop of y axis. Okay, थोड़ा सा सिमेट्री में रखते हैं. Its loop in the its loop on the x axis in x direction, and its loop, and the next is its loop on y axis. So if we have to make a sigma bond, then if the next loop is present here, okay, its y direction and its x direction, then if these will interact with each other, then only sigma bond is going to form, and the internuclear axis of these will be same as of x. But if this x loop is gonna interact with the y axis, loop of y axis, then they will not going to form a effective overlapping. Reason? Because this loop is in this direction and this loop is in this direction, so there is no effective overlapping. Like if I call this loop in a close, okay, so this is the loop in the x direction. Focus on this portion. This is in x direction. Okay, so if this loop come and wanna overlap with x axis loop, then there is a common area of overlapping. They will form a sigma bond. But if this x loop is wanna make bond with the loop of y axis, then there is no effective area, because if the first loop wanna make bond with the second loop, then this loop is remain empty, and if this, then this will remain empty, and if they will form a symmetry bond, then this center part is going to interact with this loop, or it will come in the new mid of the loop, but there is no effective overlapping. So for that reason, for effective overlapping, we must have loop in the same direction for the formation of sigma bond. So here a proper sigma bond is formed. Okay, here's sorry, right, it's a sigma bond formed. But if we have next orbital in y axis, like it's x direction, it's y direction. So if this orbital is going to interact, with the x axis orbital, then there is no effective overlapping. But if this orbital is going to interact with the y orbital, which is in the same axis of as this axis, so there is a formation. Wait, let me zoom it. to make the orbital comparative is equal. Yeah. Now they both are in the same direction, that is y, and they have 2 point of contact, 1 and 2. We have 2 point of contact, first point of contact and second point of contact. So this is going to do a effective overlapping, okay. And here we have 2 point of contact, so it will form a pi bond, okay. And let's take another example of orbital in z direction. So this orbital is in z direction, so it is not going to interact with the any of x or y. It is not going to interact, not going to interact, okay. Okay, so I hope that point is clear. Ki why only orbitals which are in same direction is going to interact, and orbital which are in different direction are not going to interact, because you don't know the reason. Okay, I don't want to exaggerate the point. So yeah, let's move to the next point, that is overlapping of p and d orbital. So this is our p orbital of px, y, or any z, and this is our z orbital. Now we have z orbital which have 5 suborbital, 1, 2, 3, 5, x, dx, dy, dz, dx square, y square. And as we know that this is the orbital, this can be the orbital of dx, dy, or dz, because all of the three orbitals are of same type. But the next orbital is dz square and dx square z square. So let me explain. This is x-axis, this is y-axis, and this. Wait, yeah, wait. We make a mistake. We had made a mistake, and that mistake is it cannot be in that. It can only be dxy, dzy, dzx, dzx, zx direction. Okay, so xy or yz or zx. All of the three loops appear same in a plane, but the moment we draw them on the Cartesian plane, we can assume that they are stereochemistry. Okay, so this is the this is a dxy loop. Now we have dyz loop, which are in the direction dzy. Now next is x and z direction. So in first look, all of them are look same, but when we plot all of the loops in a single Cartesian plane, let me plot them. Okay, and yeah, so if this is our first loop, if this is our first loop, if this is our first loop for the x and y plane, then this will be our next loop for the z and y. Leave it here, it's very confusing. So let's assume for that type of plane. Okay. Next is next orbital is dz square. dz square, it have z square, it means it have two component of z orbital or z direction. So if this is the y direction and this is the z direction, then its loop will be looks like that its both loops are on the same axis, on the single axis, so it's called dz square. Okay, and the next is its y-axis, its z-axis, and that suborbital is called x square y square. So here we have loops, both loops are on x-axis, x square. Now about y square, so its both loops are on the same axis called y, so it's called x square y square loop. It's z square loop, it's xy, it's xy, yz, and zx. So I hope you got the visualization of the loops in the space, and if possible then I will attach the video of the loops in the 3D format. Okay, then you, so that you can get better visualization. Okay, so let's make the interaction and the type of bond they are going to form. So for p and d orbital overlapping, it's fifth kind of overlapping. So if we have a d orbital of xy, yz, or xz with p, then this orbital will look like that. Okay, okay, and now we have p orbital, which is in this direction. So if it is x, this is x and this is y. Now if these loops get interact, then it will looks like that. Yeah, okay, this is the point of interaction, and here they will form a sigma bond. They will form a sigma bond. Okay, and next kind of overlapping between the p and d is overlapping. Oh, wait, between p and d is x square y square. Then it will show the same kind of overlapping. And if p orbital is follow the axis of d orbital, then these orbital going to interact and form a sigma bond. Now let's and these all are axial overlapping. Okay, overlapping axial overlapping. Now let's make a head-on overlapping with the p orbital and d orbital. P orbital and d orbital head-on overlapping. Head-on overlapping. Head-on overlapping. So this is d x square y square, and we have a p orbital. So most probably this is x and y direction, and x and y direction. Then if that is the p orbital of y direction, and if they come close in z axis, like if I can draw this and this, here we have a d orbital. Okay, and if it is p orbital, and it is d x square y square, and it is py. So this py of loop and this py and dz square dx square y square loop will going to interact, and they will going to interact, and this is the plane. Okay, this is a 2D plane, and these two loops are in a single plane. and this loop is in a single plane. So these two planes come closer and bond formation will take place, and the internuclear axis here is z axis. Here internuclear axis is, this is internuclear axis, that is z axis, and this orbital is in the axis of y axis. So py is in axis of y axis, and these two loops are in axis of x and y axis. Okay, so I think now that concept is clear, the difference between the internucleus axis and axis of loop or axis of molecule or axis of orbital. Okay, so here orbital axis is y, orbital axis is y and x, but the internuclear axis, it is nucleus, but the internuclear axis is z axis. Okay, so here a very good and important question can be framed that if two orbitals of p and d are combining and making sigma bond, making pi bond, because here 2 point of contact, making pi bond, then what will be the axis of internuclear axis? Okay, so it will be a z axis. So move to the next point, and now we saw uh, formation of pi bond with p and d orbital and formation of sigma bond with p and d orbital. Now let's move and look at the formation of one more thing. Here we have an orbital of d x square y square, but what if we want to make a bond with d z square? So next is p d. Here we have orbital of p z direction, and here we have a orbital of p z square, p d z square. Okay, and it is the direction that is assumed to be a z square direction. So if they will interact in this manner, then they will form pi bond, but if they will interact in this manner, then they will form sigma bond. And here the axis is z, the axis is z, then the internuclear axis is z. It means both axes are common here. And let's see here. So here if we assume this thing in a plane, then we can plot them like that. It is y direction and it is z direction. So two orbitals of z are coming close. Okay, and this is the bond length. Here are the nuclear of the p and y, p and d loops. Okay, so this is the axis of loop, but this is the axis of internuclear axis. So here this is the internuclear axis, and axis of orbitals are z axis, and internuclear axis is y axis. So both are different. Okay, so keep these concept and these micro details in brain, because it is a very core concept and advanced can ask question from that portion. Okay, so next is very important orbital, that is okay, yeah, we have done with all kind of combinations possible with d orbital. We formed pi bond, we formed sigma bond with d p z square. Wait, this is not p, it's d, with dz square, with d x square y square, with with x y y z with z x, we form a kind of possible bond with p and d, and f orbital is of no use for r, so I'm skipping that portion. Okay, now the next part is the strength of bond. The strength of bond depend on the extent of overlapping. Extent of overlapping, because more the, like if we draw that one like this, now if there is a that much interaction or overlapping only, then there is a weak pi bond, a weak sigma bond form. But if there is a in-depth overlapping, then there is a formation of a strong sigma bond. Okay, so that kind of bond which have a sufficient kind of overlapping will form a strong bond, because more overlapping, strong bond, strong sigma bond formation. Okay, if lower overlapping, lower OV overlapping, then weak bond formation will take place. Weak bond formation will take place, and this bond is more stable. More stable. This bond is less stable. Okay, so this is the importance of extent of overlapping. Now, what kind of overlapping is more effective? So if the orbitals have same kind of energy, then they will make effective overlapping. Like if we talk about that 2p and 2p orbital, there is a good overlapping. If between s and s, that it have more good overlapping. If we talk about the 3p and 3p, then there is a little lower kind of overlapping. Okay, it's because okay, there is a repulsion between, there is a repulsion and length difference too, because it's 3p orbital. So the length of 3p orbital is more as compared to the length of 2p orbital. So if bond length increases, then the extent of overlapping decreases and strength decreases. Okay, so yeah, that's the concept of valence bond theory. Now, we have drawback of this theory is limitation. We can call it a limitation. Limitation of valence bond theory is, okay. So application of the VBT is first point is the extent of overlapping is high, then only the bond length will be short. Bond length will be short and bond energy will be high. Bond energy will be high, and in that case the bond strength will be also high. So bond strength will be high. Okay, so let's take few examples. So we have 5 molecule of first is from 1s, 2s, 2s molecule. These are the combining orbitals of the atoms. So as we know that the 1s orbital have the lower energy. So and the radius of their electron cloud is short too. So the bond between the 1s and 1s orbital will be short in length. Okay, short bond length. Short bond length. So for example, we can take hydrogen. So if two orbitals of 1s molecule will combine, then they will make a sigma bond like this. This is H, this is H, and this is H2. and the bond length between the molecule is let's assume x. Okay, now jump to the next combining orbital, that is 2s and 2s. Then it have the cloud radius greater than the cloud radius of 1s. So the combining atoms must form a molecule which have a higher bond length. Let's take example of helium. This is the atom of helium and 2s. Whenever they will combine, they will form a molecule helium. Okay, and this is the bond length helium, and this bond length y must be greater in length than the bond length of X molecule. This is basically bond length. And if a molecule have a higher bond length, then it means it have a high bond energy too. Okay, so we can see that the molecule which have a short bond length have a bond energy greater bond energy greater than bond energy of X will be greater than the bond energy of Y molecule. Okay, so let's move on the next example. That is we have five molecule like between nitrogen and phosphorus and nitrogen. So it have seven number of electrons in its shells. So 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 3, 7. Okay, so these are the last orbital. So it have electron like this, and this is the its valence shell electrons. This, and this. Now, when when there is a formation of bond take place between n and n molecule, then it will combine. It will form first a sigma bond. Okay, and these all are the p orbitals. So uh, first this p orbital and this p orbital will combine and form sigma bond. Now the another p orbital of this is in the direction of px. The next orbital which are in direction of p py and pz, py, they will form pi bond. The next pz, they will form pi bond. Okay, and it means the N2 molecule will form three bond. One of them is pi, and two of them will be sigma. One of them is sigma, and two of them will be pi. So the molecule is free to rotate around the sigma bond, but the moment it forms a single pi bond, that the molecule rotation is locked in a particular direction and it cannot rotate. It have restrictions. So the final molecule will look like that. This. Oh, wait. अरे यार, okay, let's take another example of nitrogen. It have three bond. One of them is sigma and two of them are pi. So now it have seven number of electron in its valence shell, in its orbital, 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 3, 2p3. So it's the inner shell orbital and these are the outer shell. So it have two number of electrons and this p have three number of unpaired electrons. So these orbital are going to make bond with the another molecule. It may be of the same atom or of different atom. Okay, so how they will going to make bond? So if we explain in form of orbitals, then we can say that this is p orbital in x direction, px orbital, and next molecule of same orbital, it's also px, and the moment they will combine, they will form a sigma bond. Okay, sigma bond. Now we have another orbital in y direction. It is in the y direction. It's py and it is py with sigma bond. Okay. Now we have another molecule, another orbital that are in py direction. Now when they combine, they will form a pi bond. So the loops of py will combine and form pi bond. And this, they both of the interaction shows a single bond. They do not represent a double bond. Okay, they represent a single bond. So don't be confused. Now we have we form bond with px, we form bond with py, but still we have pz bond, and this is the second pi bond and third bond of the N2 molecule. So if we draw them in the direction of z molecule, z orbital will look like that, z, and the moment it form bond with z orbital, it looks like that. Okay, so this is the first pi bond and this is the second pi bond. So now we have a three bond between the N2 molecule. And as you can see here that the y orbital is overlapping with the y orbital and the z orbital is overlapping with the z orbital because they are in the same direction and perfect orientation. Like x cannot overlap with the y and y cannot with the z. It means orientation is very important, that as I explained earlier. Now uh, let's compare N2 molecule with the P2 molecule. Reason, let me explain the reason, because N2 molecule have seven electron and a small nucleus and very short radius of orbital, but p molecule have a large radius of orbital because it have 1s2 electron, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2 and 3p 3 electrons. So it means it have more number of shells, and as the number of shell increases, the radius of atoms increases. Okay, so as radius of atomic orbital increases, the repulsion between electron decreases, and as repulsion decreases, the strength between bond increases. Okay, so from there we can say that, from here we can see that the single bond of N2 is more stronger, more weaker than the single bond of P molecule. Okay, and we can compare the oxygen molecule too. Oxygen single bond is weaker than the PP single bond molecule, and make sure that we are talking about the single bond between the N and N. We are not comparing the triple bond of N, because triple bond of N is the most stable and most strongest bond in the whole chemistry. Okay, so I hope I make my thing clear. Now move to the next and last topic of that VBT is the limitation of VBT. That is limitation of VBT. So the most of the molecule by the VBT are unexplained, because VBT says कि only pure orbitals are going to make bond, and if that point is absolute correct, then it means if we have a molecule of NH4, okay, so it have 4 bonds, H, H, H and H, then these all 4 bond of C and H must be identical. Like what exists in the nature is these all 4 bonds are identical, and there is a regular angle between the CH bond. There is a regular angle between CH bond, and the bond length are equal. Bond length are equal, but all of these things are unexplained by the VBT. What VBT says ki if we have a molecule of CH4, so C have a valency of 4, like it have 6 electron, so 1s2, 2s2, 2p, 2p4. Okay, so let's draw its inner orbital and these are outer orbitals. So one pair of electron, 2s2, and next orbital this, and this. Now if we draw their orbitals for wait here, two, we have this kind of orbital arrangement. Now if this molecule is going to make bond, then we have two kind of overlapping. First we have orbital of s, and next we have orbital of px and py. Px and py, and we have next combining molecule, that is hydrogen, and it have s orbital, that is 1s1. So if it going to make a bond, then this is the 1s1 and 2p1 overlapping, 1s and 2p overlapping. Okay, and next is this one, 1s and 2p overlapping, and next orbital is going to combine, that is this s, this s orbital of carbon going to combine with the s of hydrogen, and it will form a sigma bond. This is sigma bond, this is sigma bond. But what about the fourth bond? We are okay with the three bond formation, but what about the fourth bond? How we can form the fourth bond? And the next question is here is the overlapping of 1s and 2s orbital, and here is the overlapping of 1s and 2p orbital. So the bond length of this molecule and bond length of this orbital and bond length of this orbital, they are not same. They are different according to VBT. But in reality, these two bond length are of same length. But in reality, the bond length of this S molecule, this X, and the bond length of this, both are same. But according to VBT, they are different. And the bond angle between the molecule, bond angle between the bond are different according to VBT. But in real, these are equal. So these things are unexplained by the VBT. And there is no opportunity of making the fourth bond. Here we have a first bond, second bond, third bond. But from which orbital we can make our fourth bond? Because in real, the molecule shows this kind of a structure which have four bonds in its structure, but there is no opportunity to make fourth bond. It means there is a limitation of this theory, and because of this limitation, there is a concept bond which called hybridization. Hybridization, and we will study that concept in the later video.